Hi, so welcome back. My name's Sunita, and what I wanted to do today was just kind of pick up where we left off on yesterday's session. So I want to talk about psychological abuse and coercive control today. Give you the definitions and just a couple of examples, very top line as to what they are. So to start with, psychological abuse. This is a big one. This is it's the form of abuse that not many people are aware of that's happening to them, and it takes form in many different ways. So I'm going to just read out a definition of psychological abuse. Psychological abuse involves the regular and deliberate use of a range of words and non-physical actions used with the purpose to manipulate, hurt, weaken, or frighten a person either mentally or emotionally, and also to distort, confuse, or influence a person's thoughts and actions within their everyday lives and ultimately change their sense. So that is 100% what happened to me within my relationship. And quite often there'll be times where I knew he'd done something wrong because he'd said it or done it, and I would then go and try and say and explain to him, why have you done this? Because it makes me feel like this. And all I would get back is just sheer manipulation and pure mind games that would just make me feel like, am I wrong? Am I right? Did he actually do that, or am I the one at fault? And I'd be completely confused. I'd be completely under his influence, and I would have no idea if it was me that was the abuser or if it was him, because that is exactly how I was made to feel. And unless you've ever been in that position, it's very hard to explain. And so I totally get it, because I was in that position. And another thing that he would do is, if I would ever try and just confront him about his behavior, he would either do two things. He would have point blank denial, like point blank denial, or the other thing is, he would say very, very hurtful things, really, really hurtful things. And what I would call that was diverting. So he would basically either denial or divert my attention, so he wouldn't have to deal with the consequences of anything that he was doing. So the denial is enough to make anyone think that they have gone mad, because they point blank denial, like, you'd argue till you're blue in the face, but they would make you feel like you're wrong, like you never saw anything, that it was all made up in your head, that you've gone mad, that you're the crazy one, that you're disillusioned to the real things that are happening in reality. So that is another way, that's just another mind game, which is the denial. And then something that I experienced quite a lot was the really, really hurtful things. Like, I would be called, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear, but he would say, call me a slag, bitch, these kinds of things. And I'd be so hurt. I'd be like, oh my God, my own husband called me these things. And so I would just go off to cry, to lick my wounds. And that's exactly what he wanted. That was exactly what he wanted, because then he'd diverted my attention, because I'd gone off to cry, and he wasn't being made accountable to deal with the consequences of what he had done or what he had said or anything like that. So that, in a nutshell, is just a snippet of psychological abuse. And what I want to do now is just run through coercive control. So the coercive control, I'm going to just run through the definition of what it is, because I had never heard of coercive control until after I'd left my abusive husband. And so the term to me just didn't mean anything. So I thought it's just important to run through the definition. So coercive control is when the abuser uses a pattern of behavior over time. And they do that to exert power and control. They may have a pattern of assaults, such as threats, intimidation, humiliation, or they might even punish their victim. And coercive control can be both physical harm or psychological trauma. They're both the key aspects to coercive control. So what I want to do now is just kind of run through some of the patterns that I would see in coercive control. Okay, so if I would ask my ex-husband to do something, for example, if I would say, oh, we're going to go food shopping later to the supermarket to get food, what he would do is he would go through this pattern of what would just be stages of things he would do because he didn't want to do it. So if there was something he didn't want to do, something he didn't want me to do, if he didn't want to face something, he would go and run through this pattern. And how it would be is it would start with him starting to build tension within the house. And he would start slamming doors, but slamming them so aggressively that the whole house would shake. And he would start snapping at me, also snapping at his mum, because we lived with his mum as well. So you could start to feel the tension. It was almost like it was a warning to say, tread lightly. And then it would take literally nothing for him to just then go into from tension building phase to explosive phase, which is where he would just go crazy. And what would happen is, for example, the very last time he went crazy was when I just asked if he was okay. I was really treading gently. I didn't want to rock the boat, and I just said, are you okay? And that was enough. It was enough to just tip him over the edge and for the explosion to come. And the explosion, it always happens for their benefit. And this is what I realized, these mind games that they play, this pattern always had a benefit. And the benefit in that particular situation was he didn't want to go food shopping. So there's always a benefit. So what you have to do is watch them when they're calm, because that's normally when something happens that they disagree with. So that's kind of some of the patterns of coercive control, but obviously it varies with each abuser. Another form of punishment, which I had no idea was punishment until kind of the latter stages of my relationship before I left, was this silent treatment. So there's going quiet when you're angry, but another thing, it was a way for him to actually punish me, and I didn't know that at the time. So what would happen is if there was anything that I would do that he was remotely unhappy with, I don't know, dinner wasn't on the table on time, or his shorts wasn't washed that he needed, or just anything. I went out to socialize with my friends, or went to go see my family, God forbid. If I did anything that remotely upset him, what he would do is do this punishment. He would punish me, and I would just not exist to him. We would live in the same house and I just wouldn't exist. So even when he would go off to work, or when I would go off to work, I would call, I would message. It was like I was dead to him. Just literally just wouldn't answer my calls, wouldn't answer my messages. There was times when there was emergencies and he wouldn't answer my calls. And in the house, he just would completely disregard that I was even there in the same room. And to me, it was almost like the same as inflicting physical pain, because all I wanted to do was talk to him. And if I would try and speak to him, he would literally just physically push me away, so I'd get the hint. So that was another form of punishment for him. So punishments doesn't necessarily mean that they're physical. Those physical ones we're aware of, but there's these psychological ones that run kind of behind the scenes that I had no idea. I just thought that was his way of dealing with things, but actually it was his form of punishment, which I saw him do to me, which I saw him do to various other members of his family and friends as well, which was really sad to see. So that's kind of just some examples of psychological abuse and also coercive control. This is just all very top line. I just kind of want to get it all out there. And what I'd like to say is, if you feel like you've been affected by anything that's been said within this video, then please, please, please do reach out to somebody. Be brave, someone within your network, a friend or family member. And please feel free to contact anyone in the description below, because I'm going to paste quite a few numbers, national helplines below. And also feel free to connect with me on Instagram. I have an Instagram page just for connecting women together. So it's called Connecting Women Together with the number 2. And that's in my description below. So please, please follow, and please like, share and subscribe to this video if it's helped, if you like it, or if you feel somebody else might be able to benefit as well. I'd really, really appreciate that. So I would just like to say thank you so much for listening, and remember to keep smiling at the person in the mirror. Thank you.